Borchardt. We are here with Joe Mooney, the head men's soccer coach at the University of Wisconsin-Superior, as part of our Lessons from Leaders video series. Joe is the all-time leader in career wins for the Yellow Jacket men's soccer program. Last year, the men's soccer program at Superior won their second straight UMAC tournament title, also added a regular season championship as well, and set a new record for the UMAC milestone, our first NCAA championships win in the postseason, defeating Augsburg 2-1 in a great game. So thank you, Joe, for being a part of this video series, and we'll jump in with some questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Joe, as you look back at this point in your career, had some success, what stands out as maybe a real impactful lesson for you in terms of leadership that has helped you in terms of guiding your program to a new success level?
Yeah, I think Corey, the biggest thing that jumps out to me throughout, this will be season 12 coming up for me already here. It really, I think it comes down to relationships. It comes down to building relationships with our players. It comes down to modeling the right kind of relationships, around my staff, around our department here, other folks, so that our players can establish the right kind of relationships with each other on the team. And to me, it really, I think if we can build that foundation of having a great relationship with our student athletes, and then amongst our student athletes, everything else that we're trying to accomplish as a program that I'm trying to help these guys with as a coach becomes a lot easier to have that relationship formed, that trust formed, to know who they are and what they want to achieve, and for them to know me a little bit. I think it all comes down to that.
Sure. You talk about relationships being so important as a focus for your program. Let's talk about a characteristic of a successful coach. What's perhaps the most important, one of the top things that you would say a successful coach has to have as far as maybe a personal characteristic?
Yeah, I think in terms of traits, that's really going to vary from coach to coach. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. I think the way that I try to lead with our guys is I want to be sort of the player that I want them to be. And so what I mean by that is if I want them to be enthusiastic and energetic and to treat each other well and to be respectful, I need to model that always. And so I think for any kind of a coach, if they're looking for that one successful trait, I think it's trying to be a good role model always and recognize that your players are always watching. And that can be a very healthy thing, to be under the microscope always, if you're doing it the right way and you're always mindful of the fact that what you're doing and what you're displaying is going to be copied, sort of verbatim by your players. And I think that's something that a lot of coaches in our conference, have been role models to me, and I've been able to take from them and hopefully pass on to our program as well.
Sure. Oftentimes, you'll hear the phrase, it's in some ways easier to build towards success, but harder to sustain it and to continue that. Now, clearly, your program has established a new level of success, not just within our conference, but regionally and nationally as well. Talk a little bit in terms of now as the leader of a program, how do you sustain that success? How do you keep that going in kind of a new chapter for your program?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to how do you define success? Is it championships and wins and really product-based, or is it more so like process-based? And I think for us, it was really never our goal to win a championship, to go to an NCAA tournament, to win in the NCAA tournament. That's the vision, and those are desired outcomes, definitely, and we start with those. But we very quickly, as a team and as a program, really try to get to more so what is the process of achieving those and really become more goal-oriented. And so really it comes down to just striving for excellence and trying to be the best versions of ourselves as a team and as individuals always. And so, really I think that, this coming year, that goal doesn't change. I mean, we're going to strive for excellence. We're going to strive to be, really the best team that we can be with, it's a different team than it was last year. And that's the beauty of college athletics, right? There's always turnover, and we always get a chance to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit. And so I think one of the key components is really trying to put sort of a bookmark on last year,
Yep.
you know, and say that's over. It was great, and we have some really cool memories and moments that we created there. And you know, we're gonna sort of, you know, dust off a spot on the shelf and put those moments and all of last season on the shelf and come back to it, you know, later in life. But for right now, that chapter is over, and we really need to focus on writing the next chapter. And again, that might end in some, you know, sort of, you know, postseason success. We hope it does, but you know, really that's not the important piece. It's more so, can we be the best team that we're supposed to be, and always strive for that mark.
Sure. And going back, you talked about relationships being really a critical part of your program success and one of the kind of building blocks, foundations. Going back in terms of other foundational elements, a lot of times in different leadership models, you'll hear about how critical mission, core values, vision are for any type of organization and program. What, as you look back at the program you've established now and the success that you've had, what stands out to you from some of those foundational elements that best maybe represents the Superior Men's Soccer program, but has been so helpful for you in obtaining that success?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to our core values, and those were set by our players a few years back, and everybody's got it on their wristband. It's family, class, and passion, right? And when our guys came back and they said, we want these core values to embody our program, you know, they said, you know, first and foremost, it has to be family. And to be honest, like I kind of pulled back on that a little bit when I first heard it. I think that there's a trend at times where, you know, teams like to call themselves a family because it's just cliche and it's cool to say. It's like, yeah, we're so friendly with each other that we're a family, or we're so close, we're a family. But, you know, we really had to take a look at that and say, okay, if we're going to use that as a core value, we actually have to be a family. And so the first thing we did was we defined what a family was. And, you know, for 30 guys on a soccer team, there were 30 different definitions. You know, folks felt like, you know, when I think of a family, it's, you know, a mom, a dad, you know, 2 brothers and sisters, you know, and that's our family. And for some, it was, you know, I didn't know my mom or dad. I knew my grandparents, or, you know, somebody else outside the family. And so I think the first thing we did was we looked at just how eclectic that definition had to be, and then we looked for kind of common themes. And you know, the biggest one was just, do you care for each other? Do you love each other? Do you really put each other's needs, you know, at the same level or ahead of your own? And as we've sort of adopted that mentality, I think we've seen a lot of the success come with it. I think our team really has grown close where they actually do embody that sense of family. And you know, I think that always having somebody that cares for you and supports you no matter what your production is, gives our guys a lot of confidence and, you know, the ability to really just be themselves. And there's no pressure of, you know, if we make a mistake, or, you know, we're not at our best today, that doesn't mean that, you know, my teammates, my family care about me any less as a person. They're going to, you know, they're going to be hard on me. They're going to push me. They're going to expect, you know, me to always give my best. But you know, when I do hit those low points, or when I don't have, you know, maybe what it takes on a certain day, I still have that love and that care and that support from the guys around me. It's honestly been just a treat to watch that all come together here over the last couple of years.
Sure. If you look back, now you've, you know, 10, 15 years into coaching at this level, if you could go back, what would be the message or advice you would give to the Joe Mooney from, you know, perhaps 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that was just starting to get into college coaching and figure this thing out? What would you say?
I'd have a lot of advice for that guy. A lot of don'ts, a couple do's, but you know, I think one of the things that I would say, maybe 2 things. I think, you know, first of all is really, you know, just enjoy the moments, enjoy your part in helping to create special moments for these young guys, and enjoy the relationships that you're going to form, and you know, recognize that those are going to be lifelong relationships. I think that's one big one. And I think the other thing, you know, maybe more on a personal level, is to not get so caught up with, you know, with your own ability to be successful. You know, when I first started coaching, I was very young, and you know, I came into a league and into a region where, you know, there's so many great coaches, and there's so many you know, men and women that have just a wealth of experience and knowledge and coaching ability, and they have these great relationships formed with their players, and they have these great programs and teams. And I looked at that and said, you know, like, I'm not that guy, you know, and so there was a little bit of a complex there for me of really feeling like I didn't live up to that. And I think if I could go back and talk to a younger version of myself, I would say, you know, don't worry about that. You know, just don't focus on being, you know, that program or being better than that program or being like that coach. You know, certainly learn from those coaches, but more so focus on exactly what you tell your players, and that is just be the best version of yourself, and let that kind of articulate itself throughout your process of growing as a coach, and then don't ever stop developing.
Sure. Wise words from Joe Mooney, perhaps two Joe Mooney 10 years ago. But
that guy was not wise 10 years back.
Well, again, I appreciate you giving time today to sit down with us and be part of this video series. The Yellow Jackets will try to secure their third straight UMAC tournament title this fall and add another regular season championship as well. So thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.